The religion I'm going to introduce is Islam. The Arabic meaning for that is submission. Islam derives from the word Salam, which means peace. Their God is Allah. Their prophet is Muhammad. Their holy books are the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sunnah. Anyone who follows Islam or Muhammad, they're called Muslims. All right? And that word means to submit to the will of God. Muslims. All right, their 5 pillars are the Shahada. That's the testimony of faith. That's when they say, I bear witness that Allah is the only one true God. The Salat, which is prayer. The Psalm, which is their fasting. The Zakat, which is their charity. And the Hajj, which is their pilgrimage to Mecca. So when you're a Muslim, everybody who considers himself Muslim should be trying to get to Mecca at least one time in their life.
Right.
So that's pretty much what they're about.
That's a big deal right there.
Yeah. You gotta get there.
Right.
Like imagine if we had to like get to Israel.
For real.
Like you got to get to Israel. I would love to go, but you know.
Right. I wouldn't love to pay for that ticket.
Right, exactly. That's how I'm feeling.
So do they feel like their walk is incomplete if they don't get the opportunity?
That's what their 5 pillars are. There is a loophole in that though. If they can
they could send somebody in their place, right?
Else
right.
to go in their place, right? They could pay their way, and they can go and I guess do whatever they do. All the
have someone else stand in the gap.
Right, right. I didn't know that you had to do all of that. You know what I mean?
That's pretty wild. I know you were mentioning something about Muhammad earlier, right?
Right. Just wanted to touch on a few things. That they say the prophet is Muhammad, and if you don't know Muhammad, he suffered from epilepsy. You know what I'm saying? He would have his epilepsy trances. Well, they it's funny when you research it. Some people say that he would have epilepsy and have the trance, and that's how he would get his visions. Or some people leave that out. You know what I'm saying? I know that there was a point that he himself wasn't sure that he was getting his information from an angel because they said it was the angel Gabriel that gave him the info. Right. So I know that he himself at one point doubted that, and his first wife Khadijah was the one who kind of pushed him to say, no, that's you're getting that from.
She convinced him that
was. She convinced him that it was divine, that it was from an angel rather than a demon, because he was like, maybe I'm getting evil spirits talking to
me. So the story goes basically that he was in the cave doing his fasting or whatever.
Right. That's exactly what.
And that the angel Gabriel appeared to him and told him to read a book, and he's like, I can't read. I don't know how to read, and the angel kept asking him. He's like, I don't know how to read.
It was a writings. It wasn't a book.
Okay, the writings, yeah.
Yeah, it was the writings that Gabriel had brought to him, and like he's like, read this. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah, and he was like, I'm illiterate. You know what I mean? I can't read that. And he was like, read it. You know what I mean? Right, it's like they say he was like, I think he approached him with that 3 times and was like, read it.
And then from what I remember about that was that he grabbed him at his neck and eventually
yoked him
Muhammad
up.
Passed out, right?
Right, something like that. Yeah.
And had one of those moments
epilepsy.
Of a seizure, right?
Yeah, right. You know, when you do the research, you see a lot of people, and you could tell that some people are just biased. They leave certain things out because they know it's fishy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right, I was doing the research on it, and I'm like, how come they ain't saying that? How come he's saying this, but these ones not saying that? You know what I'm saying? Right. And, everybody has...
That's new information for me, and I already have my own thoughts.
Right, exactly.
Things that I feel about.
You already know how I was like, I get the diarrhea lip.
Yeah, like you got... The main prophet of a particular religion saying that he thinks he's demon possessed.
Right. He wasn't sure. And his lady
that's what
pushed him.
The lady
she pulled the what was Solomon's wife. Nah, you good. You good. You know what I'm saying?
Yo, you know what's crazy too? Like even after that, even after having that encounter with Gabriel, he was shook after that. Yeah, he was shook. And it in the traditions it says that I forgot what book it is, that he tried to go to a mountain or a cliff and commit suicide a couple times and to kill himself because he was so shook, like what's going on. Right. And every time he would try to go kill himself, that the angel Gabriel would appear to him and wouldn't let him commit suicide.
Right. That's
right. So and after that, a couple times, I guess he started to get to accept it, and then. Boom.
Right. Isn't there something there that also says that he claimed to have ridden on the back of an angel called a Barak? Something where this angel had like silver or gold lining in his apparel.
Probably that's something new to me.
I didn't get none of that.
I remember reading some stuff.
Maybe. Yeah, I know that something that it was interesting to me also was that in the Quran it says that you're allowed to have 4 wives, but he had 12 after Khadijah.
Right.
Wow.
He had 12 wives, and one of them was 7 years old.
Yeah, that's different.
7.
That's different.
My daughter's 8. I was
different.
like, what?
Yeah. That's different.
I was like, hey, yo, you know, like I knew that.
This is their Prophet Muhammad.
Right. And this is something that's well known. Like, this is something that's well known.
Yeah.
It's not like.
Everybody knows this.
Right.
You know what? I think, you know, in the culture, I mean, once a girl got her period, she was ready for childbearing.
Yeah, 7 years old, though.
They were looking to shop her around.
I'm like, and my thing is like, I've never really. I know that they've gotten it early, like little girls,
right?
But 7 years old,
that seems
I was
early.
like, wow,
yeah, that's real different.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's a little nutty. He married her at 7, yo. Like, I'm like, wow, bro,
that's pretty wild, man.
Yeah.
You know what it is too? I mean, right now it's just coming to mind. Like, imagine, you know, you see this guy who's considered the prophet, the well-respected person of this particular territory or whatever it was, and somebody thinking like, yo, I could have connection with him, I'll let him marry my daughter and kind of make some kind of tie to a powerful person, you know, to get himself in power. And of course, you know, they don't consider the feelings or position of a 7-year-old girl.
Let alone, and just to be real, like in that religion, like the woman is kind of, you know,
Backseat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Backseat.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so imagine a little girl, like how a man. I'm just saying how a man looked at a woman in their culture.
Yeah,
instantly, you know what I'm saying? You can see how they were like, I would use my daughter to get up in ranks and something. Right.
And
so
that
makes sense.
And that goes on in like every culture.
Right. That goes on in other cultures. Yeah, in other cultures that we probably
there's
stay
a lot
away
of
from.
them that we
don't want no beef.
They had prep their daughters to marry lords or dukes or people of position in order to get themselves into places of position.
Whatever it is that you may like.
To elevate the family. To elevate the family as part of culture, you know.
Whatever you say.
But, you know, we as Americans, we don't really have that kind of culture mentality that they do.
Yeah, that's a little different if you ask me.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys a question about this. Can you explain, because you know there's in a lot of religions, there's a lot of different denominations. So with Islam, they have a couple of different ones, but 3 of the main ones is Sunnis, Shiites, and Sufis.
Right.
So I don't know too much about them, but what I do know is the Shiites. The Shiites are like the radical ones,
right?
The radical ones, like the
Before you go on in that, there's actually 5 different
denominations.
What's the other 2? You got them?
Yeah, Abadi and Ahmadiyya.
Okay.
Or Ahmadiyya.
Okay.
Right. The Sunnis, the Shiites, and the Sufis. Those are the main ones.
Yeah.
Those other 2, they exist also.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And they all got like. I don't know if we have enough time to touch on the way they all, because it's all a lot of it is similar, but you know the stuff that it's kind of, I guess, the way you would say the way some of these Christian branches are, like some of the more radical thoughts, beliefs.
And the Shiites, like I said, they're the radical ones. Those are the ones that believe if they commit suicide for the cause of their religion, or like the terroristic ones, they receive blessings and go to heaven.
They call them the more the mysticism.
Right. Yeah, the ones who wild out. You know what I mean?
They're more like.
And so these men believe that they're offering up their lives in the service of Allah.
Right. Yeah.
So they would enter into paradise by doing so.
Right.
Yeah.
They receive a certain amount of, virgins and
right.
Different type of
So those are the ones that are blowing stuff up for the most part.
Basically,
So we know Muhammad himself was like a Robin Hood of his day, right?
Right.
He robbed caravans and the rich, gave money to the poor. I think I believe it was the Silk Road that he tried to take control of. The Silk Road is very popular for trading in that ancient world, and having that highway, to work with was like being able to run that whole area, the whole civilization.
Your style is unorthodox.
All right. So man, just before we leave that, there's so much information, people, so we can't give you everything, and forgive us if we forget something. We're just trying to cram up as much as we can just so we could keep you guys updated, you know?
Right. In this episode, we're pretty much going to touch on a few different religions, right? and break down the differences. That way we can get a good idea of the, we're not all the same.
Right.
We're not all the same.
Yeah.
What they're saying is not real.
Right.
One thing that I wanted to touch on, Muhammad, he tells them to pray to Mecca.
Right, facing Mecca.
Yeah, but in the beginning, it wasn't always like that. They used to pray facing Jerusalem.
Right.
And then he had caught beef with the Jews, and then he switched them up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there's some weird stuff. It's contradictions, especially that stuff. To me, what stuck out more than anything was the fact that the Quran talked about the 4 marriages, and he had 12.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He tripled that. You know what I'm saying?
Even being able to speak and your word being taken as the standard.
Right.
As
and then
the
you're
canon.
not following that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, you could basically do whatever you want when you're in a particular position.
Right.
Ugly.